Ryan Glover. I wanted to do this video about McDonald's Quarter Pounder recalls. There was actually a teen who was infected with E. coli after eating a McDonald's Quarter Pounder. Her name was Camberlyn Bowler. She was 15 years old and she's hospitalized with kidney failure due to a rare complication of an E. coli infection. The popular sandwiches have been linked to an outbreak of the bacteria in 13 states that has left 90 people ill, including one death and 27 hospitalizations, according to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I think this is a very serious issue, and it goes back to what I've talked about in previous videos about, like, what we are putting into our body, what we're feeding to our kids. And a number of cases recently, like, these E. coli outbreaks because of the Quarter Pounder. Camberlyn Bowler, she's one example, and she's having kidney failure. And I think, like, it goes to the point, like, that these corporations don't really care about us, like, especially our health and how unhealthy, like, I think everybody knows, like, how unhealthy McDonald's is. There was a documentary about it previously, but, like, to actually be battling kidney failure because of, like, eating McDonald's, I think, like, is a little bit extreme. I think a lot of people would assume that it is because of the meat, because it's the Quarter Pounder that is involved. And so people would, like, likely assume, like, that the meat is causing the E. coli outbreak. But the CDC has issued a statement saying it's because of the slivered onions. And I think that it just goes to show, like, that we have to be really careful about, like, what we eat, our products in America. And what I've said in previous videos about how, these are issues that you would think were going on in third world countries, not in, like, the greatest nation in the world. And I feel like, that these government agencies have to be a lot more responsible and, like, crack down, because this is affecting people. I think 90 some people have already been affected. It's a really unfortunate situation. And I would like to see McDonald's, like, step up, like, and to really take care of this family, voluntarily, instead of, like, people having to sue. I think, like, corporations should be responsible. Multiple lawsuits have already been filed against McDonald's over the E. coli Quarter Pounder outbreak. Ron Simon, a lawyer representing Camberlyn and 32 others affected, told NBC News that he plans to file Camberlyn's suit this week. He added that he has received hundreds of calls since the outbreak began. It's going to be a lot more cases since outbreak than 75, Simon said. One of the lawsuits was filed by Clarissa DeBach, 33, receptionist from North Platte, Nebraska, who says she ate a Quarter Pounder on September 18th and ended up in the emergency room. A week later, DeBach is also a client of Simon. On October 27th, McDonald's president Joe Erlinger apologized to customers in a video, vowing to regain customers' trust. And even after this E. coli outbreak, I don't think people are going to stop eating at McDonald's en masse enough to affect, like, McDonald's profits. I feel like, that we need to have more unity and really show, like, corporations that we're serious about our safety. And I think, like, maybe stop eating in some of these places, particularly like McDonald's, when they have E. coli outbreaks, to say, like, a message to manufacturers, to restaurants, that if you can't keep our food safe, that we're not going to eat there. We're not going to patronize you. And I think it's no different than the issue that I was talking about recently, where I found glass in my pancake mix. And I think that consumers need to be more in unity when, like, things like this occur, and say, like, we're not going to eat there. We're not going to spend our dollars here at this particular establishment, because, like, they have shown, like, they don't care about safety, that something happened. And obviously mistakes happen, but I don't know if it's a mistake. I think, like, that a lot of times, like, these corporations are really just about money and not really caring about, like, our health. So according to the CDC, symptoms of E. coli, it depends on the kind of E. coli which is causing the infection. Most people with E. coli infection have diarrhea that can be bloody or watery, stomach cramps that can be severe. Some people also have vomiting or low fever. When you talk to your doctor, call your doctor if you have these symptoms: diarrhea or vomiting lasting more than 2 days, bloody poop or pee, a fever higher than 102 degrees, signs of dehydration, signs of hemolytic uremic syndrome. You know, I think like, that these are all very serious situations, and like, this is coming from like, putting the wrong food in your body. I think like, it's important like, that we start looking at like, other alternatives besides these fast food restaurants, particularly McDonald's. I don't think we should be shopping there. I don't think like, obviously they have our best health or interest in concern, and I understand that it's convenient and it's affordable, but we got to stop. I think a lot of people would say like, that McDonald's isn't to blame because this issue in particular is caused by one supplier, Taylor Farms in California, and they're the ones who supplied the onions with E. coli. And some people would say like, it's hard to safeguard things that we eat raw, particularly things such as onions, because with meat, if you cook it, that's going to likely kill the E. coli. With onions, is not necessarily um, the same standard. Like, there's no way to kill like, the bacteria. So, I mean, it's a difficult issue. And maybe McDonald's, like, isn't completely at fault, like, because they're not just serving this food knowing that there's a potential outbreak. But I still think that like corporations don't really care about people, and like they have so much money. McDonald's, like, is a huge corporation, and it's like they really don't care about, your safety. When I say people shouldn't eat at McDonald's, I'm talking about the high level of calories, the salt, the sugar, the saturated and trans fats, and the preservatives in their food, and particularly people from the Black community. We see how, like, we're a predisposition of diseases such as diabetes and obesity in our communities. And I feel that McDonald's has benefited off our community and hasn't given a lot back as far as I'm concerned. Like, I see like, that there's a McDonald's center and like, our community. Is that enough? No, I don't think it is. I think like, that McDonald's is a greedy corporation and takes advantage of the Black community. And I think that we are regularly supporting this, and it's killing us. And I think like, that I would like to see people like, come together en masse, particularly in the Black community, and say, we're not going to buy McDonald's. Hey, but let me know in the comments, will you guys continue to buy from McDonald's after this E. coli outbreak, or do you feel that it's not really a big issue because it's just mostly affecting quarter pounders in some states, or is it something that gives you a little bit of hesitancy about buying from McDonald's? Or are you not like, someone who goes to McDonald's at all, and you kind of agree with me, like, that people shouldn't be buying from McDonald's? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And also, one of the things that I thought was funny, that a lot of people were saying that, Trump, this happened like, after he had like obviously worked at McDonald's, and people were saying that everything that he touches, dies. I thought that was pretty funny. Obviously, it's false news, like, to say that the coli outbreak is because Donald Trump put on a McDonald's uniform, but I think it was hilarious. Let me know in the comments, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you share my video, and let me know other topics that are important to you. As for me, I'm not a huge fan of McDonald's, but my kids love it, like, which puts me in a little bit of a quandary because, I think like it's one of their favorite foods. I think like, because it's so affordable and the food is kid friendly, chicken nuggets. I think like, when I was a kid, I didn't have as much of a love for McDonald's as my kids do. And I think that, McDonald's does have a recognizable brand all around the world. Like, wherever you go in the world, like you see at McDonald's, and I think like, like what kind of meal that you're able to get, and your food is consistent. I think like, that a lot of people enjoy it because you know what you're going to get. And like you can get an affordable meal quickly, and like, it's definitely a place for it, and I understand like why the corporation is successful, but at the same point, it's very unhealthy, particularly in the Black community. However, E. coli outbreaks are very serious, and for anyone who's suffered a case of food poisoning, it's one of the worst things to go through. I remember I ate at a Mexican restaurant in Peoria, and probably from eating the lettuce, I may have had like E. coli poisoning. I remember it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in life. And I empathize with the people who are suffering, like, from these E. coli outbreaks. I think like, that obviously it's something that McDonald's couldn't have prevented necessarily. Could more safeguards be put in place, like, to prevent like things like this happening in the future? I don't know.